Okay, so my name's Steve Morris. On Twitter, I used to go by The End Is Far, and I've been suspended, so we'll see if I get reinstated. My last video, I directed it, or it was really for Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai and people who are joining his movement. And I kind of want to continue on with that conversation. I was talking about this idea for an apprenticeship system here in the United States, and I just wanted to, I guess, just go over some ideas that are floating around in my head for it. Like I said before, I don't know exactly what the structure was for that. If there was a proper organization, and I think there was, that kept track of apprentices and kept track of their progress. Now, what I don't know is, I don't think that it is necessarily as detailed as what I'm thinking. Like, I don't know that they had to take economic classes, for example, or psychology classes, or maybe characteristics, human characteristics. And I'm thinking of Jordan Peterson there. I don't know that they had any kind of exercise program, although I would say that, I mean, almost all the Swiss that I met were pretty fit. They walked a lot, they rode a lot of bicycles. But that's kind of what I'm thinking for this apprenticeship system, is a program that really takes care of all the things that our primary and secondary schools are not. You know, like money. You know, how to treat money. What is money? You know, one of the things that really kind of bothers me is that, you know, we have this Federal Reserve System, and, you know, they got rid of real money a long time ago and changed this over to this fiat money thing. And there's a lot of stuff online that, excuse me, I've got an earpiece in. I know my way home. I don't know why I'm listening to the directions. I think our public school systems are failing us, and our colleges really are as well. So, like, one of the things that I found amazing, again, over in Switzerland, is that, you know, almost all of their professionals came out of the apprenticeship system, not out of the university. And I mean, it makes sense after I left college. You know, I found, you know, number one, like when I was studying computer science and management and information systems, the systems that I was learning, and not to say that they weren't valuable, because if you can learn one thing, then you can learn, pretty much anything after that. But one of the advantages of learning while working is you're typically going to be working with the newer stuff and or stuff that a lot of people use, because companies don't use, some companies like to use I can't say that word right now, proprietary software or tools, but if you buy somebody else's, then they're highly tested and they usually come with a lot of features that you may not use at first, but you'll eventually use, just because your competitors actually are using them and finding them useful. Another advantage is you get paid to learn, instead of becoming $100,000 in debt. You're making money, and you're making and you're building your network as well. That's another big thing, is the network of people and organizations that you work for. Like they say, it's not just what you know, it's who you know. So that's another advantage of this apprenticeship system. Now, what I've seen here in the States is more, I don't know, it's almost like unionized. I don't know. It's somebody asked me, they were like, well, people are already doing that. This apprenticeship system, and they're not doing it. I think they're doing it more for industry and not necessarily for the individual. And I don't know that mastery is the end goal here. One of the things that I saw over in Switzerland is they have novices. So novice comes before apprentice. So you have novice, apprentice. I'll say expert, because journeyman has a gender thing to it. So I'll just, instead of journeyman, I'll say expert. Novice, apprentice, expert, and then master. So a novice has a mystical understanding of the universe around them. They know that things happen in work, but they don't know why. Apprentices have a process understanding of the universe or their job or the universe around them. And they, not just one process necessarily, but they see things more on individual process or very, very small groups of processes. And then you get into experts, where experts know pretty much all of the processes that are going on around them, how to perform them, why they work, what they work with, what other processes they affect. And then the master can take sets of processes or systems and bend them to new environments, or create new systems from those, or combine systems in order to achieve new ends. So in Switzerland, it's real common for these small businesses to have a novice or two, or maybe three, I don't know, but these are unpaid people who basically hang out at the business and clean up after everyone else. And when I first heard of this, I thought, who would be stupid enough to do that? Well, as it turns out, just about everybody. because the way that you get your apprenticeship position is you novice first. And the way, it wasn't my buddy who explained it to me, but it was one of his coworkers, I think, explained it like this, like, so a novice, I mean, the reason that you're picking up people's trash is that you need to learn how the trash is made before you're allowed to make the trash. And I didn't know deeply what that meant, but it made almost immediate sense. In that, you know, people who, like, if your first job is to clean up after someone else that's, you know, slightly above you on the totem pole, when you get to that position, you're less likely to create a huge mess for that next person who's going to fill your shoes. You know, you've been there. You know, not to say that's always the case, but again, that was kind of how it was explained to me. And they said that it was important for you to know how garbage and just I don't know, like in the woodworking world, we call them drops. You know, pieces of something that you don't quite use. You know, whether those things can be reused, recycled, how they're disposed of or used down the road. That made a lot of sense. You know, I was 22 when I was over there, and I'd been in college for a little while, and I had several jobs. So then once you get to the apprenticeship level, then you start getting paid, but you're not going to be paid, you know, huge amounts of money, because part of your payment is the experience and the education that you're going to get while working for that organization. So I mean, it's almost like having a wage and then heavy on the benefits side, which is experience. And as I was saying in the previous video, that you can get up to expert level, but you don't always really do that. So my buddy, he started out in a photography apprenticeship, and then he moved into auto mechanic apprenticeship. And one thing that I didn't mention in the last video was that, you know, years later, he's a manager, or a senior manager for Xerox. You know, like he wasn't stuck. And I'm, you know, not to say that we're stuck here in the United States, but, you know, that was something that I would, you know, I was concerned about when I heard about this apprenticeship system was, oh, you know, well, if you pick your career too early, then you're stuck there. No. You know, some people find their niche, you know, on the first try, and then others it takes years. So that was reassuring to find that out. You know, and once I really started playing around with this apprenticeship system in my head, what I'm thinking is like, so I form an organization, or I get together more properly. I get together with some people and I form an organization, and what we do is we're pretty much, if you're a company that has a high turnover position, like, you know, people move on, they get experience and they want to go do something else or make more money, which there are a lot of positions out there like that. Our group will go out and recruit, train a little bit on the front end, young or old talent, and supply those people to these jobs. So, you know, I haven't really figured out how, you know, the education part will, you know, the outside of the business education will take place. You know, we got to find time for that. You know, how to, you know, stuff like learning economics, learning ethics, exercising. That's a real easy one. The F3 program, or the F3 group, is it's an awesome group. It's really cool, and I see a lot of young men in there as well. I mean, there's a lot of 40s and 50 somethings, 30 somethings in there, but you know, there's a lot of 20 somethings, and a lot of teenagers show up when they can. It's that's a group that's really worth checking out. You can look into them at f3nation.com. So we'll have to work out some bugs there, but it's doable. With regards to the jobs, you know, it's not that hard to. I mean, there's software out there right now, open source, that I can track people, and I can track like skills matrices and other things that, you know, that they've learned, and kind of keep up with their resume, if you will, their curriculum vitae. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but you know, the CV, as the Europeans call it. So it wouldn't be that hard to keep up with our apprentices. You know, I haven't really thought out the pilot program yet, but you know, I guess what I really need to do is just start talking to some people who think this might be a viable idea. I know it's viable. It works in Switzerland. It's something similar occurs over in Germany as well, and it's worth me pointing out that in Switzerland they have a big, you know, they've got big industry over there, but or at least when I was there, there was a big small and medium-sized businesses were a big deal. Like they were really concerned about the health of their small and medium-sized business sector. And I don't know if I put this together back then, but I put it together later, was that communities that have healthy small business and medium-sized business sectors are healthy communities in general. You know, you're not reliant on a GM or some other giant corporation that, you know, if they decide to move their plant, then the whole town doesn't go to shit. You know, if a small business decides to move, then somebody takes over their spot. Not necessarily in the same trade, but you know, there's probably other competitors that would take up their slack, or the vacuum that they leave. So this apprenticeship system really caters to the health of small and medium-sized businesses, and that's actually, you know, when I was toying around and kind of brainstorming, coming up with a mission for this apprenticeship system, it was to, what was it? It was to service and maintain the health of the small business community through apprenticeships. So, you know, that's pretty broad, but you know, that's one thing that I learned a long time ago when I was working for Deloitte & Touche was, you know, these missions, like a company's mission statement should be almost like a beacon, like a lighthouse just over the horizon that you can see and direct yourself towards but you can move around, and you can avoid obstacles, or you always know where it's at, but you're not on a really hard fixed path towards it. That allows you some flexibility, and flexibility is a big deal in maintaining a business or an organization. So that mission statement for this apprenticeship system is, it's maintaining the health and servicing the health, promoting the health of small business, small and medium-sized business through apprenticeship. So, for all these companies that have positions that are fairly high turnover, or even if it's the turnover occurs every year or two or something like that, which is more common, you can kind of make it work like that with apprenticeship. So you can say, hey, listen, we found you this job with this company, and we expect you to be there for a year, and these are the things that they want you to work on, and these are the things that we feel that you can work on while you're there to enhance your interests, and prepare you for the next phase of your apprenticeship. I don't know. To me, that sounds pretty inviting, both from a small business standpoint, medium-sized business, and from the apprenticeship side, because you've got the flexibility. So you're, as an apprentice, to be in our program, your goal with us is to become a master of yourself and a master of your future. And there's various ways to do that. There's hundreds of ways to do that, and we as an organization will help you do that. So in return, you provide us with great employment that we can charge other people. So that's part of the program as well, is we make a little money. The apprenticeship system, I'm just going to throw a number out there, but basically we charge our client $15 an hour, and we pay you $10 an hour. Now you're getting paid double that in benefits and experience. And if you don't believe that, well then you go figure it out all yourself. But just know this: if you're part of our organization, we're going to support you, and we're going to get you to at least expert level in a career. We want to help get you to mastery of yourself. A lot of young people think that they know themselves and whatnot at 18, 25, 30. I mean, my experience was that I grew and changed more from 20 to 30 than I did from 10 to 20. And I've mentioned this to a few people at least, and they all agree. So young people out there, millennials, post-millennials, right now, really, like this university system, I don't know. It's basically putting a lot of people in debt, and if you ask a lot of employers out there, do they want a college grad? Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of them probably do, but a lot of them, heck, college grads are growing on trees right now. I mean, they're plentiful. There's gazillions of them. And to tell you the truth, I'm fairly familiar with primary and secondary education. Just how things are going right now, and the diploma that people are earning today, it's half of what my generation and before earned. I mean, we had to earn it. Today they're giving them away because part of the incentive is these schools, part of their funding structure is, if you're not promoting kids, then you're not doing a good job, so you're not going to get the funding. What that does is they basically dumb down the education so that anybody can get through it. Now that doesn't mean that smart kids aren't coming out of high school. There are plenty of them, but it means that they're far fewer. They're self-motivated. They're your super nerds. They probably got more out of high school than I did, but I got a lot out of it, and I got a lot out of college as well. But I got way more out of work experience and solving problems in real time with deadlines and with people breathing down your neck. So my first real professional job was a company called Intersolve. I was first level support, and then I got moved over to the IT first level support for a software product we had, and then I got moved over to the IT department as a DBA, and then SAP engineer. And our CIO, that guy fired more people while I was there than I've probably ever seen fired before and after. And it wasn't a personal thing. Like, he never made it personal. Although, he'd cuss people out, and he was kind of a scary person to some people. But he was extremely fair. If you did a good job, if you were a problem solver, he wouldn't kiss your ass, but he would take care of you, and he would bend the normal rules for you, because he valued you. That guy, technically, I don't know, technically I wasn't fired, but I begged and begged. This was after our first SAP implementation, the first go live. We had an immediate upgrade right behind that, and I begged him to let me plan that upgrade out. And he said, okay, well, you got till tomorrow, or I don't know, maybe it was a couple days to get him a project plan. And I went through all my notes. I knew what needed to happen, and so I put together a plan, and it was a 6-week process. There was a lot of work to it, preparing for it. A lot of things had to happen in our business units in order. We had to get information from them in order to configure the system. So he looked at it and he said, okay, it's yours. And then we come down to the wire, and that first week, everything went really, really well. I thought, heck yeah, I'm king of the world. And then after that, there was a slip here and a slip there, and then this thing didn't work, and this business unit didn't get me their information that they were supposed to get me, and everything started crumbling. My timeline, that 6 weeks was disappearing, and I was doing the best I could, but we got down to like that last week, the 5 weeks in, and we were supposed to be back up and running the following Monday. It was a Monday, and he called me into his office and he said, hey, look, Morris, if this system isn't upgraded and everything working Monday morning at 8 a.m., you're fired. And I was like, holy shit. You know, it was real. I mean, I loved my job. I loved where everybody I worked with. I mean, that was, you know, actually, to tell you the truth, I mean, I just got right back into work, and I worked my ass off that week. I've been working, you know, I don't know, I was working 60, 70 hours a week leading up to that week. But that week I think I put in over 100 hours. And that last Sunday, I don't know, maybe it was Saturday, but I spent all weekend at the office. I actually had a cot set up to sleep there. And just the way that the loads were going and everything, I thought everything was going to work once the data loads got finished, but you know, time-wise, I knew that it was going to run, you know, into Monday afternoon before we could be back up and going. And I stayed there all night and babysat it to make sure, you know, if anything went wrong, I could immediately fix it. And Monday morning came, and my boss came in. His name's Greg. He came in and he was like, "We're not up and going. You're fired." And I felt like hell. I mean, I was deflated. I'd been up pretty much all night because I was afraid to go to sleep if I missed a problem. That occurred. But instead, I went to the data center and babysat that thing until it was done. And once it was done, I recycled the systems, brought everything back up, and we were live just before noon. And I was just frazzled. I mean, I knew I was fired, so I didn't even say goodbye to anybody. I just left. I went home, and my boss, my direct boss, you know, he called me that evening after, you know, I'd slept pretty much all day. And he called me that evening, and you know, I guess he broke the news to me. He said, "Hey, listen, you know, Greg knew that your timeline was way too short for what I had given myself. He knew that, but he let everybody know that that's what our schedule was. And you know, I don't know if everybody knew that we might not make it on time. You know, the business unit owners and whatnot. But he did. But what he was doing is he was teaching me a valuable lesson, and that is there's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be problems. You know, and these are some of the things, just getting back to the apprenticeship type things, these are things that I and other experienced people can teach up and coming people, apprentices. But anyway, I mean, to finish up that story, I wasn't fired. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. Basically, had I left at 8 o'clock that morning when the deadline came and I didn't stick around, it almost brings tears to my eyes because, you know, I remember this so deeply, so well. But had I left that job incomplete, then I would have been fired for sure. But I stuck around and I saw it all the way to the end, and they were up and running, and you know, that scored a lot of points. this guy Greg Gehring, he was really a tyrant. It's funny is we described him like Patton, the General Patton. I mean, like he was extremely charismatic, tough as nails, very not, he wasn't, he really didn't care about people's feelings too much. You were expected to be kind of tough-minded to be working for him, but he came from the banking industry, IT. So, your systems can't be down then. But another thing, just talking about Greg, part of that lesson that he taught me was, number one, if you build out a project plan, expect that at least 15% of the time that you think, if whatever the time it's going to take for it to be done perfect, add 15% to that, maybe 25%. And over my life, I've learned that, it might be even 50% for certain things, but minimum 15%. The other thing is that when I told him that I would be ready in 6 weeks, what does he do? He goes and tells his boss, the CEO, and board and business unit owners, because we were IT department is a service organization. Those business unit owners rely on us, so they're our customer. So when he told them, hey, yeah, we'll be back up and running Monday morning in 6 weeks, I essentially made him a liar. So that was another lesson that I learned is that if someone is relying on me to get something done, and I tell them that it'll be done, and then they have people who are relying on them, on their word, then the buck stops really with me, as far as the lie goes. So, and I didn't really think of it as a lie, but I mean that's ultimately what it is. And if you treat it like that, you're less likely to tell a lie if you treat your project plan like what Greg expected out of me and the rest of his staff. I don't know exactly how I got off on that tangent, but with regards to the Apprenticeship Guild, that's kind of what he had going on there. His organization, there were people who stuck around for a long time, but that's an industry where you have a need for novices, you have a need for apprentices, and you have a need for experts. Not too many masters. I guess he would be the master, a couple other levels above what I was at the time. But he kind of treated it, he talked about it like it was a destroyer, like his department, not a battleship with hundreds or 1,000 sailors needed to make it work, but a destroyer which is pretty much as powerful offensively as a battleship, but it doesn't have the armor, doesn't have the bulk to protect it. But anything that I did in that department, there was someone who could back me up. And it's actually, the way it started out was I was the backup. So, there were people who were more senior than me. It was their responsibility to get most of these things done, and I was pretty much the helper. I was the gopher. I was the backup. If somebody got sick, I could fill their shoes for a day or two, or a week for vacation, whatever. And that's how you get experience, is filling those shoes. Especially in emergency type situations where you're not prepared for to take on some responsibility. But these are the kind of things that it's not just that department that I worked for, where people learn these things. It's almost every business, if not all. So, if you come work if you apprentice at our organization, this is hypothetically because it doesn't exist right now, but if you did, we would support you in all these things, and then we would help guide you through these kinds of through these situations. We would work with your employer, with our customer, to help teach you these things through, maybe not through that example that I just gave, but through other means, similar means, things that would make you more competent for the employer, and that would make you more valuable down the road for your next assignment. What else? So just to talk a little bit about the extracurricular things outside of the work experience. One of the things that I was thinking is like this F3 organization that I joined last year. I mean, it's been really good for keeping me exercising, limber, and it really helps with your confidence levels as well. When I first started working out with these guys, I was just turning 50, and I was not in terrible shape or anything, but I wasn't in good shape for sure. And I'm getting there. But these guys that I'm working out with were knocking out like 50 and 60 push-ups with what looked like ease to me, and I could barely do 20. And then, you'd do all these push-ups, and then you'd run around the park and come back and do more, and then I would have to actually drop to my knees and do a woman's push-up. Or I shouldn't say a woman's push-ups, because there's a woman out there who can do a lot of push-ups too. I guess what I'll call it a baby sit-up, or a baby push-up. But after doing it for a while, you strengthen, and you can keep up with these guys. It's pretty awesome. So my thought is, make that part of this apprenticeship program. Is there's a PE, if you will, physical education. Another part of the F3 organization that I really have come to love is what they call, that's the faith in their F3. So there's fitness, fellowship, and faith. So the fellowship is the camaraderie that you end up building between these men that you work out with, and then the faith is, it sounds like religion, but it's really community service. The way that it works out, not to say that there isn't any religious thought or meaning behind that part of F3, but it really turns out to be charity work. And so that part of F3 would be a good thing for the apprenticeship system as well, that's community service. So you're serving your community through working for small businesses and helping them achieve their goals. You're growing as a person and learning and gaining experience, and you're also serving your community by taking part in these charitable things that that we do at F3. And what's kind of funny is that, you know, I don't know that everybody does the charity work at F3, but it seems like almost everybody does. And it really, like when you do these things, I don't know, it's you know, you're not getting paid for it, but you're getting paid for it in things that seem to be worth more than money. It's pride, and it feels good to help other people. So there's the F3 angle. Jordan Peterson, you know, I'm gonna throw that out. You know, his personality courses, you know, I've listened to a few of them on YouTube. You know, like doing woodworking when you're sanding a bunch of stuff. You know, and it's real easy to listen to podcasts. You can listen to music as well, but I don't know. Once you've started one of his personality courses, I'd be surprised if you didn't finish it, because you learn a lot about psychology, morality, mysticism, religion, yourself. I mean, it's a really, really powerful course. You know, you learn about Carl Jung and Dostoevsky, and I'm not saying his name correctly, but Freud, and you know, all these people I'd heard of, but you know, I really didn't. They were psychologists, but you learn a lot about these people when you take that or listen to Dr. Peterson's course. Economics. You know, there's tons of stuff out there on economics. Valuable economics, not macroeconomics, microeconomics, or as Adam Smith, economics. You know, household management. How do you balance your checkbook and keep track of things and do budgets and save money and finance things. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, biology, health. Dr. Shiva Ayadurai. You know, he got me researching. You know, I mean, like, I've listened to a lot of his videos, and you know, just listening to him has prompted me to do a lot of research on just my health. And you know, it's not just taking a multivitamin. You know, it is exercise, but you know, vitamin D, what does it do? You know, so like if we made Dr. Shiva's warrior program as a requirement in the apprenticeship system, you know, you're getting, you know, the physical education piece from F3, and then you're getting the health end of it. I mean, they kind of combined health and PE when I was in high school, which it kind of makes sense. But you know, we could do the same there. So there's a lot of information that's out there that, you know, we could take advantage of by just using these resources. You know, some of them cost a little money, but you know, that's part of the program. You know, I mean, I'm imagining we can get a group discount. I mean, if we had 1,000 or 10,000 or 30,000 apprentices, imagine the discounts that we could get for these classes. So about at the end of this journey, it's kind of fun talking about this stuff. It makes me want to see it happen, and I hope that it piques some of y'all's interest as well. Y'all have a nice day. Thank you.